Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NXT The Game Season 1, Episode 22. We are just days removed from NXT TakeOver Money in the Bank, and let's get straight into the action. The lights flash on, opening up NXT for the first time since NXT TakeOver Money in the Bank as a new theme blares, and out steps Kyle O'Reilly, the NXT Money in the Bank winner. Kyle O'Reilly charismatically makes his way down the ramp and into the ring where GM William Regal is standing readily handing KOR a microphone. And KOR chant breaks out as O'Reilly simply smiles. O'Reilly says, "Hi," very charismatically. "I'm Kyle O'Reilly, Mr. Money in the Bank." O'Reilly raises the briefcase over his head as this is how NXT starts this week, with the NXT universe going absolutely crazy. So we're going to start off with a 62 rating overall here. The crowd got the show off to a great start. Now, for those of you who are new to the series, this is a NXT event, an episode, if you will, after TakeOver, and it will be more match-based and just house cleaning type of episode. All right. Next up, in a decent match, the Grizzled Young Veterans defeat Andrews and Webster when Drake pins Andrews with his Head and Shoulders DDT. Morgan Webster was a weak link here. 51, 57, 38, and 56 for Gibson, Drake, Webster, and Andrews combined. So a solid match. Got the crowd buzzing. And 50 overall rating here. Alright, next up, and about that had subpar wrestling and little heat. El Legado del Fantasma, Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul Mendoza defeat Boa, EJ Nakuda, and Jay Rama in just under 7 minutes when Escobar pinned Boa with his bridging German suplex. During the match, we had Joaquin Wilde turn on Boa, basically getting him to the heel alignment. 28-18, 30 for Rama, Nakata, and Boa. Mendoza, Wilde, and Escobar put up a 30, 46, and 44. It lifted the quality of the match, as did the commentary. We're going to go and handle the changes. We're going to turn him heel. Alright, I know it's a complete disaster, as I said. For those of you new to the series, everyone was on the wrong side of the face and heel divide, so we're just pushing it, we're just turning them, and we're taking the penalties as we go to get people where we need them to go for the next 6 to 8 months in game. 41 segment rating overall, though, as El Legado del Fantasma gets the big victory here tonight on NXT. Alright, next up backstage, we have Melissa Santos in the back with the former NXT champion North American Keith Lee. Santos says, "Keith, last week you defeated Karrion Kross at TakeOver Money in the Bank. However, due to the action taken by Scarlett and Karrion Kross as it relates to shoving the referee and hitting him, the decision was reversed, and due to the rules, Kross is allowed to retain his championship." The fans boo. Keith Lee says, "Melissa, what Kross did not surprise me. Much like he took advantage of my open challenge rules to claim the North American Championship, he's taken advantage of match rules to retain said championship. But fear not, his actions will not go unpunished." Keith looks right into the camera and thus Karrion Kross and says, "Time's ticking, Karrion. Tick, tock." So a 35 here for Keith Lee backstage with Santos. I would have hoped a better rating here with only a 35 overall, but Keith Lee declaring that Kross is still in his crosshairs. Pun intended, if you will. 35. Alright, next up, about that decent wrestling, but little heat. Aaliyah defeats Xia Brookside with the Magic Carpet Ride. 47 here. 45 for both Brookside and Aaliyah. The match did its job and gave the crowd a breather. And the announcing and color commentary lifted the match. So, Aaliyah with a victory here tonight. Alright, next up, about that had subpar wrestling and little heat. Indus Sher defeats Aussie Open in just under 3 minutes with Rinku pinned Kyle Fletcher. Aussie Open making their NXT debut. They were signed to contracts. They'll both mostly be used as enhancement tag team talent, but they're both very solid in ring, so I could see a push in the future. Davis and Fletcher had great chemistry. 40, 35, 27, 28 for Fletcher. Davis, Sarov, and Rinku come by. Bivens, as always, great work at ringside. So Indus Sher's push begins here, even though it's going to be a very slow push. Next up, we get highlights of Dakota Kai's NXT Championship victory over Rhea Ripley at TakeOver thanks to the aid of her new brothers-in-arms, Manifest Destiny. Rhea Ripley is in action tonight. Sarah Scott did awful, and if Cohen was here, he would say, WWE, call her up. Alright, the In My Brutality storyline as well as the Manifest Destiny storyline have advanced. 36 for Rhea Ripley. A little bummer, only a 36. Alright, next up, in the previously hyped match, Pete Dunne defeats Karrion Kross by pinfall with the bitter end following a distraction interference from Keith Lee. Karrion Kross seemed off his game. The match got the crowd hotter, but a 57, so an absolutely banger of a match between Pete Dunne and Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross suffering his first real loss here in NXT. After the match, the bell sounds. Pete Dunne having pinned the NXT North American Champion. Cross is irate at his first true loss. The camera fixates on Keith Lee before flashing back to Pete Dunne, and then finally Scarlett and Karrion Kross. 49 over here overall. Pete Dunne with the victory over the North American champion, and Keith Lee is very happy with his actions. 49 here. All right, next up we get highlights of Kyle O'Reilly's NXT Money in the Bank victory at NXT TakeOver. Then it cuts to the opening segment of the show where Kyle O'Reilly arrived, popping the crowd and Regal. We then show highlights of the NXT champion Jay White, Roddy Strong, Bobby Fish, followed by Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. NXT's new power stable known as Manifest Destiny. They'll be here, all of them, next week. So Manifest Destiny will be here next week on NXT. 41 overall. I wish this would have been a little bit higher for rating. Alright, next up, Rhea Ripley defeats Deonna Purrazzo with her Soul Food. 44 overall here. Rhea Ripley defeating the very talented Deonna Purrazzo. And Ripley, she's interesting. She's definitely not happy. She has a gripe at the NXT Women's Championship as well. So we'll see if she gets a rematch upcoming soon. And in the main event, the Velveteen Dream defeats Jeff Cobb with his Powerline finish. The bout dragged a little bit, which was noticeable. So 49 and 45 for Dream and Cobb, 43 overall. The Velveteen Dream, though, has done it. He's beaten Jeff Cobb, giving Cobb his first loss in NXT. And as NXT goes off the air, he motions that he wants the NXT Championship, that he's coming for Jay White, and that Manifest Destiny has been put on notice. So going to end the show here, a 56 rating, so a very strong show after NXT TakeOver Money in the Bank, a very cosmetically tight, focused show, getting some matches out and prepping. I do want to notice that the Mae Young Classic is coming up. It's either this Saturday or the following Saturday in game. So we either have one more takeover in the Mae Young Classic or it's the next episode. I forgot to write it down. So you're going to see it soon. But that'll be a standalone show as well. We're going to call up and borrow some WWE workers to make it kind of like an Evolution-ish pay-per-view. But yeah, man. So until next time, it is me, Mikey Bro, wishing you a glorious rest of your day. We'll see you next time.